I like cock. I like cock as much as the next girl that likes cock, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I try too hard to get it, just because I'm just a bugger for cock. And sometimes you strike out when you try and get some cock, and sometimes you are successful when you try and get some cock. But lately, I've been thinking to myself, I have not been a go-getter in the realm of cock. But an unlikely gay icon has inspired me, because Donald Trump has shown me that I could get an entire country to fuck me in the arse if I want. Oh! Satire! Yes! Slamming the ingot on the table. Boom! Boom! That was satire, everyone.
That sure was satire.
Just served you up a steamy bowl of satire soup, rich with mushrooms.
It sure seems like a great long-term strategy for global, like, geo-global politics to go, I'm gonna blow your country off the map, I'm gonna do it, and then, like, when the deadline arrives, just be like, no, we're good, actually, I think.
We were gonna bomb you back to the Stone Age, but instead, would you like to charge us to use a bit of ocean?
I'm gonna press the delete button on your country if you don't do what I want.
Yeah.
Or not, actually. Maybe we don't. Maybe it's fine.
This was the wartime equivalent to the nobody, absolutely nobody meme, where no one asked for a war, and now suddenly we've got to pay for the consequences of a war.
You know, it's almost as if this is the sort of thing that happens when you want to run your country like a business, and the person you put in charge of it has sunk multiple casinos.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that because I was sort of catching up on it before we recorded, which is why I just honestly slam dunked it with that glorious piece of geopolitical satire. And I immediately thought of that. Like, America was in negotiations with Iran, didn't like the deals, and now, because of the man that ran the country like a business, America has to accept a worse deal than the one that was on the table. And that's literally all that was accomplished, was for no reason, Trump made it worse.
Yes.
Which I realise could describe the past several years. For no reason, Trump made it worse. But apparently, the last thing I fucking heard was J.D. Vance fucking giving a statement saying that America has achieved all of its strategic goals with this war in Iran, which suggests to me that America is an American traitor. If that was its goals, America is guilty of treason against itself.
I mean, yeah? Have you looked at this administration? You are describing it pretty clearly.
Pretty much. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
You have not tuned in to a biting debate on LBC, leading Britain's conversation. You have, in fact, tuned into a video game podcast, and I'm sure many people want to escape from the horrors of the real world. And
I thought they were all going to be
that.
clicking off and going to find that other podcast that was talking about the moment. Oh, yeah. Video games. Oh, fuck that.
Sometimes YouTube just shows me clips of LBC.
Yeah.
They seem fine. There's that one fella who takes all the calls from Trump supporters, and I say this as a British person who doesn't normally sort of point at something and say, oh, he's very British about that. He deals with MAGA people very Britishly. Although I heard there was some sort of fucking behind-the-scenes pro-Israel shit with them, so I don't know. I can't vouch for anyone anymore. Do you know how many wrestlers I've had to call out for being abusers? I can't vouch for anyone anymore.
LBC present themselves as very centrist, but they're definitely right-leaning. They do the, like, no, we're the moderate voice in the middle, but the moderate voice in the middle that always seems to lean right.
So,
Yeah.
99% of British media, basically. Can you imagine what a lot of these people would see if they would think if they met a left-wing person? Can you imagine what a Democrat would do if it met a left-wing person? They wouldn't understand what's going on. They'd be confused. They'd call the cops. Now, I'm only saying that because there's one listener, they probably don't listen anymore, but there was one listener who loved the Democrats and hated it when I slagged them off. So that bit was for them. Also, I've got to get them in where I can, because I won't be allowed to make jokes about the Democrats anymore. Because when I said on Blue Sky that the Democrats want a round of applause just because their fascism comes in decaf, someone pointed out that I can't slag off the Democrats because I live in a country that's more transphobic than most countries. Apparently, those two things are related. So, if you live in the UK, you cannot criticise the Democrats anymore, I'm sorry, because of J.K. Rowling.
Well, you know what you can still criticize? Video games.
You got there.
Look at that. Look at that. Who's played video games?
Let me just check that. Nope. We live in a country where incest roleplay porn is illegal. Therefore, we can't criticize video games. It's amazing what things are related when you pin red string between two random items. Hello, everyone.
How many things have you played this week, Steph?
God, if I had time to play with all of this satire, with all of this Daily Show-esque commentary.
I don't know. Have you, Steph?
Plenty. I've had plenty of time. I say that. I've used time I don't have to play more World War Z. That's a lot of what I've spent my time doing. It's World War Z, and I can speak very briefly on the game I know we both played, but I haven't played very much of it. I think that's it. I think it's just been a lot of World War Z for me, plus but still a lot of Pokopia. I am still playing that. So yeah, I'll say 3.5 games, 2.5 games.
Yeah, what about you, comrade? How much you been playing?
A game, sort of.
Okay. Shall we start with the one that I've played more of and that, Steph, you've dipped your toes in?
Yeah, I've got it on the screen at the moment. A lady just walked on the screen.
Yeah.
With a dress that looks fabulous.
Has she been joined by the wrestler man?
Yeah. She's joined by a guy that looks like a wrestler, but she's wearing what I want to wear as a wrestler. I could wrestle in that.
This is Pokemon Champions, the new free-to-start spin-off. Pokemon has taken its competitive online serious ranked battle scene and dropped it over as a separate thing.
Yeah, I've only played. I've got through the tutorial and I had one battle.
Yeah.
I never really played enough of Pokemon Stadium back in the day to know if I should compare the two, because my experience with Pokemon Stadium is almost entirely the mini-games.
Yes.
Which this game clearly doesn't have. So
no, this is very much Pokemon Stadium without any of the mini-games.
Without the little Sandshrews digging or throwing ring tosses at Ekanses, or being having a one of those sort of buffet conveyor belts with Lickitungs going at it. Those mini games were unhinged. But yeah,
they were indeed. So yeah, what do you before I go into my quite lengthy thoughts on this, what are you making of it so far?
Yeah, it seems like Pokemon battles with that's it, basically.
Yeah.
With some
it is very
stuff.
bare bones. Yeah.
I can tell it's on mobile as well, isn't it?
It will
I got the
be.
Switch
It's not
version.
yet. It's coming to mobile later in the year,
Right.
and I think
'Cause-
that is when this will probably blow up.
Because a lot of the art and assets in that look like they were scaled up from a fucking mobile screen.
Yeah, they want
that's-
this to be able to play on fucking anything.
The FMV at the start and the key art in the title screen and all of that, so artifacty. It looks fucking like a drag and drop stretched out JPEG. A bit better than that, but not by much. And that's what's really sort of hitting me about this, is it comes across as very cheap. It's got a kind of cheap and tacky vibe to it so far.
So, I feel differently about this, but this is probably because I come from a bit of a different perspective on this, and I'm a bit further in than you, and I've got a little more of a picture of where it's going. So, this is not going to be for everyone. This is a very no-frills. This is where you come to do online Pokemon battles with other players. The idea, I think, is twofold. It is, A, trying to make the serious competitive end of Pokemon more accessible to more people, and I think it's doing a lot of really good stuff mechanically there, but also trying to go, hey, we can also put this on mobile and go, if you don't ever buy a Pokemon RPG, you could pull out your phone on the bus and play some Pokemon battles. The big thing I think this does really well, that I've, as someone that, I dabble in taking Pokemon battling seriously. I know that there is a shit ton of mechanics that the RPGs never really tell you about, that you just kind of have to know about, to take competitive Pokemon seriously. This is things like IVs, the hidden special numbers where when you catch two identical Ekans at the same level, actually one of them is secretly stronger than the other, and you don't know. There's very little way to find that out in the moment. Do you have a good Ekans or a shit Ekans? You don't know.
Yeah, I never really cared for any of that stuff.
Yeah, so that
personally.
mechanic, just completely gone. They just got rid of that. Every Pokemon has perfect IVs. That does take a little bit of strategy out of the top end for, when you get up to, the World Championships level, there were some trainers who would do things like deliberately having a really bad speed IV on their Pokemon because they wanted to have their Pokemon under something called Trick Room, where the slower Pokemon move faster and the faster ones move slower. So having a deliberately slow Pokemon would be useful. There are edge cases like that some competitive teams were built around. You lose a little of that top end, of the competitive top end, but in exchange, Pokemon trainers get to just pick this up and go, I don't have to know what an IV is, or that there's secret hidden numbers on these Pokemon.
It makes absolute sense for this. Absolute sense for a freemium game that they want everyone to pick up. I could understand it more with the mainline games, where the competitive scene is a very distinct element of a wider game. With this one just being battles that they want everyone to do, it makes complete sense that there will not be any of that IV stuff.
On top of that, some of the other stats of your Pokemon, things like EVs or effort values, those are the things that, this was always confusing to explain to people. When you're leveling up, the Pokemon that you're fighting against, the species that you fight against when you're leveling up will determine, behind the scenes, some stats that your Pokemon will gain.
I hated that even more. I genuinely hated EVs, because even though I'm not competitive, I still, in the back of my mind, want to have the best kind of Pokemon I can have. And as soon as I think about shit like that, I'm like, well, now I need fucking spreadsheets, and now it is not a game.
So now you don't need that. In this, they just give you sliders, and they're like, you have this much, you have 66 points to spread across your stats. Where do you want to put them across your stats? Fill in the sliders.
Like character building, but for Pokemon. That's
like character building, but for Pokemon.
Yeah.
In terms of, ways that you used to, certain moves that a Pokemon could learn had to be learnt through really obscure mechanics. I'll give an example. Egg moves were Pokemon that, some species, Incineroar could only learn Fake Out if you bred a Pokemon that did have Fake Out and an Incineroar and then made an egg, and then that egg might be an Incineroar that also knows Fake Out. All that shit's gone now. You pick the moves you want your Pokemon to have, and there is just a list of all the moves they could possibly have, regardless of what mechanic would have led to them having them. You just pick the moves and put them on the Pokemon. So a lot of this stuff is like making it much easier to go, I'll just take a Pokemon and make it be how I want it to be very quickly. Which I think is very good. I also think they've done a lot of good in terms of communicating more information during a battle to people. So for example, and I'm going to give some examples here that are things that when I streamed this earlier today, people were like, oh, that's a mechanic? Didn't know that was a Pokemon mechanic. So you know how in Pokemon, like, if I do a fire attack against a grass type, it'll do more damage? Did you know that there's also... That's 2 times damage. Sometimes attacks are 4 times effective. If the enemy has, like, 2 stats that are weak to your attack. Now there's different words for that. It's super effective and extremely effective. It will tell you if it's...
that they were listed as... Like, I'd noticed the different listings in the battle, like the tutorial fight.
Yeah. So it'll now tell you things like that. If you have moves that, like, has a percentage chance of causing a status effect, it will now tell you what that percentage chance is. If it uses a term like poison, and you're like, what does poison do? You can press plus, and it'll be like, oh, that deals 1/8 of the Pokemon's health bar every turn. All of that information is, like, way more transparently given to you, which I really like. And in battles themselves, all of the attack animations are way shortened down. So, like, everything is way quicker. Like, once both sides have picked their attacks, it's just go, 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 attacks happen, speed up the battles. All of this stuff I do think is really helpful, like, for making competitive Pokemon more approachable and something that I think is going to be less intimidating for people to get into. I had concerns, and the big concerns I had were around the monetization of this. Because it is a game you download for free, and therefore the question mark... Like, the last free-to-play or free-to-start Pokemon game was Pokemon Unite, and I stopped playing that very quickly because the monetization was fucking horrendous.
It was absolutely disgusting, was that one.
It was a confusopoly of... You've got 6 different currencies, and they don't neatly translate into each other, and all of that bullshit. Every time you opened the game, it was showing... You had, like, 8 pop-ups of, like, these cosmetics are available, this is available, this battle pass, this is available. Like, it was constantly shoving in your face, please spend money on us. This, I am pleasantly surprised at how it is handling its monetization. The main currency in this, you have one currency, it is called VP, it is victory points. You cannot buy victory points, the only way you can get them is by doing battles. You earn them pretty quickly doing battles. I earned around 9,000 in an hour of doing just random battles, which was enough to buy, like, a full team of 6 Pokemon, if I wanted to. It was enough to buy, like, multiple cosmetics, and to feel like I had plenty of options to be buying stuff, be it functional or aesthetic. There is some stuff that can be paid for, and I will detail what that is. The game has a battle pass, and it does that thing where there is a free battle pass and a paid battle pass. And as you're going through the battle pass, you are seeing things you could have had for free, quote unquote for free, if you'd paid for the paid battle pass. Alternating rewards on the battle pass are things you only get if you pay. That's trying to do a little FOMO. Looking at that paid battle pass, it's basically just cosmetics or faster unlocks for a couple of items that you could just get anyway by using your VP. It's mainly like, do you want... I think one of the big rewards on the paid battle pass is, do you want the battle music from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee? None of the stuff behind the paid battle pass is important, or anything that, like, is going to give you a competitive advantage to have. Which is positive. There is a you can only purchase it one time starter pack for £6, which is you get 30 tickets for just permanently recruit a Pokemon to just have permanently in your game, and 50 change all the stats on your Pokemon one-time tickets. You can change the stats on your Pokemon using VP that you've earned by playing anyway, but it gives you 50 tickets for just do a set of stat changes.
I mean, definitely in comparison, like obviously my opinion on this kind of stuff is very well known. Certainly in comparison to Pokemon Unite, it is comparatively benign.
And the thing that I think is really important about this is, if you're someone who plays the RPGs like I do, you can completely sidestep engaging with the... Because, like, this game has its own mechanics around, like, once a day you can see 10 Pokemon and pick one to either permanently or for a week's trial have or whatever. If you have your own Pokemon in Pokemon Home from the main series, you can just bring them over in unlimited amounts. There is no currency charged for, like, bringing your own Pokemon in. There's no time limit on how frequently you can bring your own Pokemon in. You can just go, I'll make my own... I'll get my own Pokemon from the main series game, train it up over there instead of using the mechanics in Champions if I don't want to. Bring it over, and it will already be how I set it up.
I do have a question about the battle specifically. I played some mobile games that do this, and I've got an inkling it's doing it here. Is this a case of the battles are a human player's team, but the fight is against an AI?
Other than that first fight, that first single battles fight that you do in the tutorial, which is definitely against an NPC, once you're clicking on ranked battles, it is against actual people. Really? I had the same thought. I had the same thought as you, because I kept seeing the same teams and going, wait, why am I seeing the same exact set of Pokemon? The reason is, you at the start are given one of 10 Pokemon to pick, and then they fill your team out with 5 others.
Yeah, like I got that much, yeah.
Yeah, there's 10 default teams. So you are fighting against... If you're seeing the same teams over and over, it's because you're being put up against one of the 10 starter teams.
It's more how they're fighting. I'm expecting everyone to be better at this than I am, because I'm not competitive-minded.
No, but I think you have to keep in mind... This is Pokemon, but it's completely free, and they just put it in front of an audience of people who... I think you underestimate how little the average person picking up this free-to-play Pokemon game has existing knowledge about Pokemon. I have seen a lot of people today being like, I've never bothered to buy a Pokemon before, but I saw this one was free and I started playing it. There's a lot of people who this is their first time battling.
I mean, as I said this person I'm fighting has started kicking my fucking ass.
Yeah, they needed a minute.
Yeah, I did just beat them, but right at the end, their Gyarados was kicking the absolute fucking shit out of me. But they did lose, so...
Yeah, I can't guarantee there aren't bots in any of the low levels, but I've definitely, like, gotten to the point where it's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely fighting against human people here very quickly.
You see, I wouldn't mind it. Part of me would prefer it to not have the pressure of knowing another human is there. Because, like I say, I have played games where it's like, it is someone's actual team, but you're both having almost solo battles.
Once you get out the very first Pokeball tier, their strategies will improve a bit.
Yeah. And as someone who doesn't do a lot of the online battling at all, no, that is just interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. I have thoughts on the metagame of this, where it currently is, as someone that has, like... I've never been amazing at like competitive Pokemon, but I follow enough to like know a lot of what's going on with like the metagame. I really like that there are basically no legendaries at all in this at first. They've kept the power level of the Pokemon available at the start of this quite low, so that a decent amount of the Pokemon that are available have a good shot at being competitively viable. I think it is a shame that they're only having fully evolved Pokemon available. I understand why they're doing it, because for the average person who doesn't know competitive Pokemon, it's like, why would I want a Clefairy when a Clefable exists? Isn't that just straight up better? There is an item that has previously existed in competitive Pokemon that gives not fully evolved Pokemon a massive defense boost that's sometimes useful. That strategy just doesn't exist here because not fully evolved Pokemon just aren't a thing. They've seemingly been very strategic about removing a few items that had been being abused in the metagame previously in ways that really, I don't think were necessarily healthy for the way that competitive Pokemon was playing. I can see some people are going to be really annoyed that their favorite held item isn't there. And there's a few held items that aren't here at launch that I'm a little bit like, oh, I planned a strategy and it just doesn't work. There's been a few item omissions at launch where I'm just like, I feel like that strategy wasn't so overpowered you couldn't have it available at launch, but I feel like they want to start this at a very simple place and give people an onboarding point, and like, we'll introduce more items as people get more comfortable with the metagame. I'm very interested to see what the serious competitive players make of the state of this on launch day, but as someone who was looking for an excuse to get more into competitive Pokemon, this has sanded off a lot of the edges of like, I don't want to deal with having to like count how many HP ups I'm giving a Pokemon because there's an invisible number in the background I'm trying to meet. Don't want to worry about that. I want my battles to be as get in, do the battle, get out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun with this.
I feel like the competitive players are not going to really care for this one just because of all the sanding. And that's fine. Like, I do not think this is designed with competitive players in mind.
It so
is
of
it?
Note, this is so at least until Wind and Waves comes out, which is at some point in 2027.
Yeah.
This is the platform for competitive Pokemon. This is where this year's World Championships and all of the regionals and nationals this year are going to be happening. Is in this game.
Oh, that's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, the competitive format will be this game. And like the competitive format tends to go through regulation cycles anyway. Like the first year of Scarlet and Violet was like no legendaries, only the Pokemon that are native to Scarlet and Violet, no Pokemon transferred from home. So like the first year of Scarlet and Violet was a very, very low power metagame anyway. So the competitive scene is gonna have to get on board with this for the next year, whether they love the changes or not. I'm excited to see, like, even if people are like, I don't necessarily love that the IVs are gone, this, that, and the other, what strategies will they find that are unique to this? That's kind of what I'm excited to see bubble up.
Yeah,
but
I
it is an
am
interesting
fascinated
choice
by
to
that.
make this the competitive. This is where competitive happens for the next year.
Yeah.
It's curious. So yeah, Pokemon Champions. I'm having a good time. A lot of my fears about the monetization from Pokemon Unite, not nearly as terrible as I feared. That shouldn't be the bar, but honestly, it's not done a lot to go, hey, buy stuff, and that's good. And it's pretty quick to earn the one singular in-game currency.
Fair enough. Fair dose.
Yeah. What about you, Conrad? What you been playing?
I have dipped my toes into Raccoin.
Ooh, how are you finding Raccoin so far?
I mean, I'm like, when I say dipped my toes in, I'm like on my second or third play, just because I have not had much gaming time this week, but it's interesting because I played the demo and I liked the demo, but after I played it, I didn't feel particularly compelled to come back to it and play the demo a little more. It's like I did, a round or two, and then I set it aside. I said that was neat, and I liked it, and I'm probably going to get that. But then I wasn't, I'd see it in my list of demos, and then wasn't attracted to it. But it came out, and you were talking about it last week, and it was reasonably priced. And I said, you know what, fine, I'll go ahead with it. Because I do, think I like games that I can just sort of have on. And, if I'm doing something or something comes up, I can step away from it with no consequence and, come back and it's just there. And yeah, this does feel like it's going to be good for that. I think part of it is coin catchers have always felt, like just such an obvious scam. Like the most obvious scam in an arcade,
Oh yeah,
and so I would always like sneer at them, kinda, when I would see them, and I still would, Because I look at this and I think about the amount of money that I would be putting in if this were actual money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? To actually start to knock shit off. And knowing that this is a very generous version of this concept.
Yeah.
It is only reinforced how correct I was every time I looked at one of those machines.
Oh, 1,000,000%. You could not be more correct.
Yeah. And I mean, validating for sure. I like, though, that because you have this near unfettered number of coins to put in, that it does expose there could theoretically be strategy in this.
Oh, yeah, and there is. I've gotten to the point where I am finding the strategy in
Right.
it.
Oh, and I mean, it's fairly apparent even in this early game. I'm selecting which coins and chips are, gonna synergize well, and I'm winding up with thousands of tickets at the end of a round, so I never have to worry about that. And, I just hold out hope that I get one of those coins where value is tied to taking half of your tickets, and then I'm in the pink for the rest of it. Stuff like that. Like, it's very clear that there are paths that go down, and I like that. But just even coin placement itself can feel very strategic. And in your late runs, or when in the round is the time to deploy your special coins and stuff like that. Like, there's some genuine depth to that I appreciate.
Yeah, like, for me early on, it was realizing, if there are coins that, give you benefits if they're out on the field but haven't fallen off the front yet, you throw all of those to, say, the left-hand side, and all of your coins you want to actually go out the front of the machine to the right, so that those ones that you've thrown to the left stay in the machine as long as possible, giving their passive bonuses. Right. It's, working out that sort of positional stuff, or when you start getting the trinkets where it's your score multiplier goes up if you score points off the front, center, or the left, center, or right of the machine, and having to start thinking about where your coins are crashing off of. Yeah, it starts being more than just throw coins in and see where they go.
Yep. Now, something that this game could use is a cursor lock option. Because this is a game that I like to be able to have running in the background at all times, I run it in windowed mode. And I play it with the mouse, because while other control schemes exist, I've tried it with the controller, confuses me. I think that the coin launch buttons should be the bumpers and not the triggers. And that's how it is it's reversed by default. And that just throws me off. So I'm not a fan of using the controller. I don't particularly want to use the keyboard. And so the mouse is just, that's what feels comfortable. But it's very easy to click out of that window.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would like a cursor lock. I realize that this is a very niche request. It's not a criticism. But that would be a very nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I like the game a lot. I really like when the bad coins start to get introduced, and how that adds tension in a variety of different ways, and figuring out how best to account for those. Real cool stuff. Yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to dig in more over the next week or two and have more thoughts, I'm sure. But yeah.
Nice. What about you, Steph? What else have you been playing this week?
Aside from Pokopia, which I've just been dipping into every day, I love the little random... it's not been very much as far as events go, but I get excited whenever I see it. The other day, it was Pokemon will do impressions of each other, and if you guess 3 correctly, you get an inflatable, wacky, wobbly Sewudu.
Yeah, Sudowoodo. Yeah.
I was trying to work out, because I've made a little shopping... a little trading district, and I was trying to decorate the wall for it. So I took a photo of the Sudowoodo and 3D printed loads of them. So now I've just got a whole bunch of them wobbling around. It's still such a lovely game. I am still completely delighted with it. I have been checking in once a day, at least, just to dabble in it and play around. I've had to be careful about when I do that in case I do get sucked into it and then lose a whole day to it. It is dangerous to neurodivergent people, as I've said before, but it is just I love it. I absolutely love it. And then, aside from that, there's the other game that I talked about last week that I've also been really glued on after getting back into World War Z. I've been playing loads of that again. I actually got the DLC campaigns that I hadn't had before, the Phoenix, Vegas, and Walking Dead ones. The Walking Dead one is interesting, because I was thinking, like, they stick to the show as zombies, so they are slow. And I'm like, I was very interested how that's going to translate to World War Z's gameplay. The way it translates is, it is genuinely fucking nail-biting, because what they've done is they've just upped the amount there are.
Oh.
And there is something even more intimidating about a wall of zombies moving very slowly towards you.
Do they feel like they've pumped up the health on them a bit so that they are a little sturdier?
Some of them. There are armoured ones that now do take significantly more damage. Like, you'll see, like, they're in army gear and stuff. What the other thing that makes them more dangerous in certain respects than the regular infected is it only takes, like, a couple of them to pin you, as if a lurker jumped on you. It makes playing as the slasher class very annoying. You just gotta remember to use your stun gun a lot. Because, yeah, if you spend too long, and by too long I mean a second or two, around a bunch of walker zombies, they will drag you down. So it is a wall of death, just advancing methodically towards you. And yeah, it's not something I pick all the time, as opposed to the regular levels, but as this darker, more brooding sort of diversion, I have been dipping into it every now and then, like 1 or 2 times a session, because it does have a very particular atmosphere, and that's quite good. It's good stuff. The Vegas and the Phoenix DLC, those campaigns are cool. They're decent enough. A lot of it's more of the same. The Vegas stuff can be quite cool. There's one where you've got to protect a guy who's trying to get access to, like, a secret member's elevator of a casino. So you've got to find casino chips to put them into Wheel of Fortune machines for him to play. That's pretty cute.
And are these all, like, 3 or 4 mission campaigns each per area?
Yes, it is very much buying another chapter.
Okay.
You get four new characters for it, and then the set of levels that constitute a chapter is like 3 levels. And they're cool. That game does have a lot of fucking DLC.
It does.
I'm not going to pretend that I didn't fucking get suckered into buying some of it. But, my god, the Vegas DLC has DLC. There are, like, Vegas gun skins and a skin for one of the Vegas characters, and that is its own DLC. And I'm like, mate, that's DLC for DLC, you cheeky fucks.
Yeah. I can't say I have any interest in cosmetics for that game, but more like level packs and stuff.
I don't regret the level expansions. I don't regret buying those.
In the base game, they've all felt so distinct from each other that I wouldn't feel bad picking up more of those.
Yeah. I think they're all good. I would honestly, and I never thought I'd suggest it, because I watched the first 2.5 seasons of The Walking Dead show, and I liked it until I got bored of it. So I'm not super into, like, the AMC Walking Dead, but of the 3 DLCs, I would recommend The Walking Dead one first, above the other 2, just because it is such a different experience. Very similar, of course, but the tone of it, the mood of it, the way you engage with the hordes, it's a different beast, and very good to sort of as a little refresh between playing a lot of the rest of it. And the other 2 are good as well. I have liked them all. Because when I have played this game previously, I would just play story missions over and over and over and over and over without even thinking to look at a lot of the rest of it. I have really enjoyed now dabbling in classes that are not just the medic class. Slasher is a lot more fun than I thought it would be. The melee class, it's really quite fun, especially if you do get the Walking Dead DLC and you get Michonne's sword.
Ooh.
Which is really fucking useful for a slasher character. I like the Fixer as well, the one that puts the exploding ammo rounds down. And then just the Gunslinger, just the one that's just got more guns. And the grenades, they're cool. I still focus on the medic a lot. I'm like 5th prestige class level in it over the years. And I didn't even know, it's taken me this long to realise that I didn't have to just use the 4 characters that are part of the chapter I'm playing. I didn't realise I could, because those menus are, I remember every time I pick this game up after not playing it for a while, I have to hunt to find out how I can change my class because it is not intuitively placed.
No, I remember the first time I was playing it and I was like, oh, there's like a outfits or styles menu, and I thought I'd selected a new outfit for a character, and then I backed out and was still in the same outfit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not terribly clear menus.
They're not good menus at all. But I was delighted because, I'll play a lot of these, I'll play the Japan levels, and if someone's already got Kimiko, I'm going to be upset because I want to be Kimiko and enjoy her tonally inappropriate voice lines. I don't think the tone she has when she goes, mowing them down, I don't think that's the appropriate tone, young lady. But she seems to be loving the apocalypse. But no, I want to play as the girl characters when I can, and I was very pleased that I could now play as the girl from the Phoenix DLC as many times as I like now.
Yay.
So that's good. I've also been doing, because I should have been doing it sooner so that I could unlock things quicker than I have done, but I never even really bothered with the daily and weekly challenges where you play the stages with various modifiers. Some of those modifiers are fucking horse shit. Losing health whenever you climb up something. Fuck off. But I have now been sort of dipping in to do those challenges, and some of those are cool, and I understand, why they're there. It's to keep people invested and everything, and that's fine. I've played a couple of rounds of the Horde mode before, and I'm not super into it. Still haven't bothered to touch the versus multiplayer, and from what I've heard, no one fucking bothers with it. So I don't know if I ever will. But yeah, I'm just so impressed by that game's longevity. Just the fact that I am still this into it. And I go for long periods of time where I'm not. But it is one of those comfortable glove type games, Yeah. You put it on and it always fits and it always feels nice and you can always go back to it.
It's pretty recently that I picked it up for the first time, and I can already feel it's going to be in my rotation of stuff like Deep Rock Galactic, of me and Jane just want to sit down and play a co-op-y thing together that's, not too brain, enjoyable cooperative time. It's a nice, comfortable little game.
And that's it. I like that it's both a very comfortable game, and still, after all these years, capable of having me breathe a big sigh of relief after a huge fight against the zombies, because it was that fucking intense. I'm not over the size of those swarms. After all this time, I'm not over it. There will be times I'll play a stage that I've played dozens of times before, and I'll see the zombies, rolling over the horizon, and I'm like, we cannot kill all of these. And then we do. Or we don't. And it's, the flowers talk. I've still got the flower over there. He's just yelled that it's 3 p.m. He actually did remind me to get on the computer for Podquisition today.
Hell yeah!
So he is earning his keep. But yeah, speaking of earning its keep, World War Z, one of them. Not looking at the DLC, buying the actual game was one of the best value prospects I've ever had for just the fact that I'm still playing it. Yeah. I can say that about 1% of all games I've played, that I could go back to it right now and be this into it.
Yeah.
Quality stuff.
Nice. I played a couple of really small games that I kind of want to talk about that I think are interesting and worth being on people's radar, and that I suspect a lot of people aren't going to have their attention on. One of these comes out the day we're recording this, so it'll be out yesterday by the time you're hearing this, is a completely free game called Find Your Words. This is a game that was made by two dads, both of whom have non-verbal children, and it is a game where you play a little non-verbal child at a summer camp for disabled children, and it is a game about, like, making friends and, like, having this wholesome little summertime adventure while engaging with different forms of communication. The main mechanic is that the character you're playing as has, like, a little binder. This is sort of an analog version of an AAC, an augmentative alternative communication device. You have this little folder that has 4 tabs of pictures, and it'll be places, people, things, and other assorted words, like your connective words. You're only ever selecting at most 2 of them to make a thought. That might be like name who, to ask someone their name. It might be play and a location to tell someone you want to play with them and where you're suggesting, or like what activity you're suggesting. And you're just like building up this little library of words little by little while having this very sweet time interacting with all these very nicely written characters. I think it does a wonderful job of showcasing that alternative communication can come in many styles. Like, one of the children there is a wheelchair user with a digital AAC sort of touchscreen device that they're using. One of the characters, their text just appears more slowly in the text box because they need a second longer to... They are speaking verbally, but it's taking them a second to get their words out. I really like that the characters are written that even though your perspective character is using, like, short image-based prompts to communicate what they're trying to communicate, none of the other characters simplify their language to talk to you. They don't automatically assume that because your speech is shorter or in a different form, that you don't have the same understanding of speech as everyone else. It's a very wholesome little game. It's very sweet. It's completely free. There is a supporter edition that's like you get the soundtrack and a little printable activity book for $5 if you want to support it. I think it's very sweet, and I'm glad it exists. It is a lovely little insight into non-standard forms of communication in childhood. The other one I've played, and this is a really artsy game jam project that I am kind of fascinated with, is The Omega Reach. This is a game that came out of a game jam back in February called the Games for Blind Gamers Jam. This is a game jam every year that tries to develop games that can be played entirely via audio for sightless blind players. I make a point every year to check out the submissions that they have, and this is the one that's kind of stuck with me. It is a game about exploring space to eventually find instruments you can take back from planets and sell on to people. But the way that it works is that you are, like, zooming in and out layers of space. Let's say you're as far zoomed back as possible at, like, let's say it's the universe level. You've got various input methods, be it controller, mouse, keyboard, but you're basically feeling around in space. You've got this, if you can see, there is a lovely visual to it. If not, there is this soundscape that's basically... You can hear yourself moving through this ethereal space, and, like, the sound changes in pitch and intensity as you get closer to things, and eventually you might find a galaxy. Maybe it's one of 2 or 3 galaxies in that universe, and you zoom in a layer. You start exploring this different shape. You find this galaxy, you find a planet. Maybe you find a planet and you find its moon. And you get all the way down there and eventually find, like, an item you can sell. And then you, like, zoom back layers, and you go back to bigger sections of space you've already been to, and explore off in different directions. And it's just this very tactile space exploration game that, like, doesn't have any big goals you're trying to hit, or any, like, major quest objectives or anything. It's just delving around in layers of space, very beautifully, visually and audibly translated, finding little curiosities, and then, like, zooming backwards out in space and, like, oh, I'll have a look around here, zoom in a few layers, go in a few layers, zoom back and explore somewhere else. Weirdly meditative. It is unlike anything else I have played, and it feels, for a Game Jam project, really large in scope. It feels like I could just fuck around looking around in space for a very long time and not run out of things to find. Super curious little free Game Jam project. It's called the Omega Reach. I am weirdly into it. It is a fascinating concept. But yeah, what about you both? Have either of you played anything else you want to talk about this week?
Nah, I'm good. It's mostly shooting zombies.
Mostly shooting zombies?
Mostly shooting zombies, thanks.
We got a couple of little newsy bits if we've got nothing else to talk about that we've played. Not a huge amount this week. PlayStation's continuing their battle against shovelware publishers that, they're not doing a great job, but they're trying. You've talked about this plenty of times before, Steph, that there are so many absolutely fucking bottom-of-the-barrel terrible publishers existing on PlayStation. Another batch of them got booted off this week, including the developers of, let me find some of the names of these. They really feel like just SEO titles. Water Blast Shooter Wet Gun Racing Car Chaos Extreme Stunt Showdown. Supermarket CEO Simulator.
Yeah.
Jesus Simulator, that's one. Jesus Simulator got kicked off PSN.
There are many, many games that is just something simulator, which has been, ever since, what was it, Surgeon Simulator way back in the day. That's been one of the all-time go-tos.
Yeah. None of this is as big as back in January when there was 1,000 games from one singular developer kicked off the store in one go. They're trying. They're not fighting the tide back very well, but they're at least trying, which is more than I can say for Nintendo and the Switch 1 eShop, which they seem to have still just left as that's a hellscape, we'll hope the Switch 2 eShop's better.
And it should be cleaned. For the sake of good developers that are getting choked out, for the sake of customers that could be sold absolute fucking horses garbage. I know that most of these platform holders just think, well, it's not my problem. And in some ways, in the most cynical ways, sure, it's not.
I disagree with that. I think it is their problem. I think that they are...
So do I. I'm just saying in the most, mercenary sense.
Right, but I mean, I think that that's the wrong way for them to be looking at it.
Of course it is.
By creating a storefront that is accessible, that has good discoverability, that, provides for the fact that these things can be exploited and seeks ways to address that, you're creating an experience where customers want to spend more money. That's how it works. And you get a percentage of all of the money they spend, so it's only good for you.
Unfortunately, we can't convince these fucking companies that it's in their interest as well. For as long as they keep thinking it's in the interests of other people, they're not going to fucking bother. But no, this is good for them. I completely agree with you, Conrad. It is fucking good for them to address this. And I'm glad Sony at least is making some sort of effort to deal with it, because it is a problem.
Nintendo is the example that I think it's really easy to point out, how bad of an image thing it is for them, considering back in the day they went to the effort of doing the Nintendo seal of quality, and that never fucking meant anything. There was some really fucking shit, terrible nonsense on those old consoles.
But the point of that was to overcome the fears in the American retail market following the 83 crash. That's all that ever really was.
Yeah. But it makes it really easy to point at them and go, hey, you are allowing some absolutely terrible stuff. Where did at least the pretense of we care about quality go? I don't think anything's fundamentally changed, but, it's easier to point at Nintendo and go, but you used to say you cared. I think that's all we got this week. I think that'll do.
Well, there we go. It is good that Sony is finally addressing that sort of thing, but I know someone who delivers a lot of output that is actually of high quality and is not slop at all, and that person is Laura Kate Dale. And Laura Kate Dale, could you tell us about it, please?
You can find all the stuff I do at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet that stuff gets posted. Patreon's the one that pays the bills. As little as $1 a month over there means that I can keep doing all the stuff I do. Otherwise, signing up for free over there means you'll get emails whenever I post stuff. It's probably the best way to find out everything I'm up to. This week we've got a new episode of Controller Alt Access going up with me and Arevia up on YouTube. We talk at length about Find Your Words, but we also have a really lovely conversation around language and how, as long as you are communicating intent, that it really should not be that important how precise you are with language as long as the intent gets across. It's a really interesting conversation I hope people check out. The most recent episode of Where Everybody Has Gone Before that went up last week was the one that I've been teasing. We finally had the episode go up where Ensign Kim in Star Trek Voyager backflips away from sex multiple times. You can go check out our 50-minute discussion on that over on YouTube. Check out Twitch. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I'm going to be playing a bunch of Pokemon Champions for a bit because I want to at least try taking competitive Pokemon seriously for a bit and see how that goes. My Trick Room team that's deliberately slow, but then I make it so that slow Pokemon move fast. They're doing pretty well on the ladder day one. I'm excited to see where I can take them. What about you, Conrad? Where are you out on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I'm streaming Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays. You could buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
That is correct. Patreon.com/Jimquisition, which supports this very podcast. Videos on the YouTube channel, the last one being YouTube. The online predator's best friend, which actually made some waves. I got a non-boilerplate email from YouTube, an actual human telling me, "Oh, we've looked at this now, and actually, the video can go back up."
It's amazing what getting an actual human to look at something will do.
Yeah, they never said that they re-reviewed it. They said they reviewed it as if it was the first time, despite having already told me, like, YouTube is such a fucking abusive liar of a fucking site. But yeah, that video got seen by some people at YouTube, clearly, and I am glad that my contempt for the entire fucking platform is known. So that's good. Also, I do reviews on thejimquisition.com. There will be a review for Marvel Maximum Collection, which we talked about last week. That will be going up because I decided to just review that, so that will be up, and that will be good. Other than that, you can check out my work in Quantum Witch, Date Everything, and Vampire Survivors, 3 games that are out at the moment, and there will be news of more writing stuff coming in the future. Thank you all so much for listening and for all of your support, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.